A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what part of the world you are joining us from. I'm Mick Adam, and I'm always joined on a Friday morning by my good friend in Holland, Guy, to talk about LinkedIn and what we see on LinkedIn and what news there is, and so on. Guy, a wonderful good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you too. Well, compared to last week, it's a bit rainy here in the Netherlands, but well, that isn't going to bother us, Mick, because we're going.
No, definitely not. Here it's rain and sun, so we have, like we were in Birmingham, four seasons in one day. Well, we're having the same type of weather today here. So,
Yeah,
lovely, lovely Europe and its climate, I would say.
absolutely.
But let's
So,
talk about LinkedIn, and we have a central topic, which is curate your home feed, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes, I guess. But anything else you want to bring to the table before we get started on curating your content? And if people have questions, put them in the chat, and we will bring them to our discussion.
yeah, and certainly we will be talking about paid meetings, Mick.
Yes, the announcement of the week, which a lot of people are excited about and talking about, is the fact that you can now book a prepaid meeting, or will be able to book a prepaid meeting with potential customers. Now, I think there is a snag, which is you need to have a premium business subscription.
And,
So,
and that's interesting, Mick, because we've been seeing, well, the all-in-one various premium subscriptions,
right.
Sales Navigator Core,
Yep.
Teams. So people are getting confused, I guess, of what to choose because they can't have multiple subscriptions, I guess.
No, you cannot have multiple subscriptions. That's the unfortunate thing. Because if they stick it into all in one, which is the obvious logical place to put it, people who have a Sales Navigator Core will probably not benefit from it. And then you have a big uh, challenge: is which subscription will you use, because you can only have one.
Yeah, but let's go to basics, Mick.
Mhm.
Curating your feed. I mean, I see so many people. I hear so many people talking about their feed
Yeah.
being not valuable, or they don't get any value out of their feed. So
Mhm.
they post, they comment,
Yep.
and that's basically it. But you would have, well, I certainly would like to have a feed that is of interest, that is of
Mhm.
value
Yep.
to my industry, to my personal interest.
Right.
So you start off, you build your network, you
Mhm.
invite people, people invite you, you accept, yes or
Mhm.
no.
Yep.
But then simply explain your feed should be relevant to what your network is or what your interest is.
Well, yes and no, because when you look at your feed, there is obviously the relevant content, but there is also sponsored content. There is LinkedIn driven content that comes into that feed and kind of pollutes, between parentheses or between quotation marks, pollutes your home feed. And that's what a lot of people get frustrated about. And more, we're seeing these suggested posts, which I believe are a good thing, because I find that the suggested posts are actually in the area of expertise that I want to be looking at. So, but that when you look at your feed in relevant or in most recent modes, you've got all the additional, I won't say junk, but that wasn't the word I was going to use. But you have the extras, which probably you're not always interested in.
Absolutely. So
And
what could people do? Well, let's start with basics, Mick.
yeah,
Start with unfollowing people, for instance.
which is what I'm doing massively now these days.
Does it help?
I have the impression it is beginning to help, but that being said, I have roughly 17,000 people in my network. It will take a while to throw everyone out or unfollow everybody, not disconnect, by the way, unfollow uh, a lot of people. So I have begun to do it by country, actually,
Yeah.
because it's a very manual process, by the way.
Well, people aren't aware of a lot of things, or things are hidden. For instance, the three dots
Yep.
at every post, with the options of saving the post, or
Yep.
copy the
Yep.
link to the post, or embed
True.
the post to your website.
True.
And also the unfollow button is there.
Yep.
I'm wondering what people are going, no, not people, what LinkedIn is doing when you press not interested.
Well, I think what it will do is it will put that name as being, whenever they post, it's not automatically going to end up in my feed. So LinkedIn kind of like demotes, not promotes, but demotes the content from those people.
Yeah, but what I miss here is, okay, not interested. Is it not interested because I don't like the topic, or I don't, or I think this person is posting too often, or
I
I
think
would
if
like
it, if it
to have a second button
yeah.
below that, not interested, to really indicate why I'm not interested in to that post.
Well, you can kind of go to the three dots and on the post, and then select that you're not interested, and you should get another box that says what is the reason,
No,
and
Mick,
you.
it doesn't. It doesn't at the
Oh, okay,
moment.
all right.
It was there, but well, apparently it's gone. And reposting or reporting the post is another option, but
Yep.
that's only in very, well, not very often. That should be.
I think when you don't like, yeah, when you say you're not interested, it just, LinkedIn kind of sees it as a signal that when that type of content you are not interested in, maybe it degrades, it reduces the closeness of the person posting, but you're not saying that you want to unfollow them, though. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
So I think it's something similar with the X. I think you mentioned the three dots. I use very often to curate my feed the X at the top of the post, which is basically saying I'm not interested in this topic.
Say that again, Mick. I just had a cough.
So if you see a post on the right hand side at the top, there's an X. So instead of pressing the three dots, which goes deeper, you press the X, and it's kind of like saying to LinkedIn, I don't like this content.
Which is confusing, I think.
It is.
Because
It is. It
you
is.
have the X, you have the three dots.
Yeah.
What to choose? What's the difference? It's not really clear.
I think the difference being that when you press the three dots, you get more options. You really get the button that says unfollow, while if you press the X, it's just about the post.
Yeah, true.
And the content. So, but I have, for a long while now, I've been using the X quite often and intensive. And I must admit, when I X posts, the feed does get better. The feed gets more relevant. But that being said, LinkedIn will throw in things more frequently. So you'll get to see more things. So you have to do this on a continuous basis. Otherwise, it has no influence.
And I guess lots of people don't bother me. They just scroll
Yeah.
for a few seconds and then they leave, or they will, well,
Yeah.
go on to another thing.
Yeah. I that's also one of the things I find is that it takes work. It's faster to scroll past it and hope that the algorithm or the lords of the algorithms decide that they will no longer show you the content in your feed.
Yeah.
But it's an efficient it is an efficient way. Unfollowing people, Xing content and telling LinkedIn the content is no good is a way to curate your feed. It's a long-term game.
it's indeed a long-term game, and it also goes for promoted or sponsored posts.
Well,
I've been seeing this promoted ad about the I think it was Ford Cupra.
mhm.
I've been axing this promotion several times, but it comes back. So apparently they want to get me into a Ford Cupra. Uh, I don't know. I'm driving some other car.
Uh,
Um,
well, I find that the removing of ads actually works reasonably well. I mean, I don't, when I do that, I don't feel they're coming back. And if they come back, I go do the same thing again so
mm,
that they are sure that I didn't want to see it.
okay. What about following company pages, Mick?
Well, following company pages that's a challenge, I guess. Um,
In what sense?
well, the thing is, I first of all, I follow very few company pages. I mean, I think I've limited my list of following company pages to about 35.
Okay.
And I've deleted all the rest, or I removed or unfollowed everything else because it doesn't make sense. Plus, we also have to
How
look.
many did you have earlier on, Mick? How many company pages did you follow?
I think I was roughly like 150, 200, something like that.
Wow.
But that, I mean, the thing is, you do a training left and right, you talk to people, you get invited. I mean, I have all the notifications open, so I can switch that off. But you get invited to follow company pages. Um, in all honesty, I see them come by, I ignore them. I know that's an extra action, so I could save some time there. But I've stopped following company pages for the simple reason is that I find they're just broadcast systems.
Yeah.
And why should I follow a company page that just broadcasts? I mean, there's a few that I follow. I like LinkedIn, Microsoft, which, obviously you want to follow for professional reasons. But I find that most company pages are not worthwhile following.
Very true, very true. And there was an exception the other day. I can't remember the name. A marketing company explaining they're going to do things differently.
Yep.
But I will notify you if I see some of their posts.
The problem is also that LinkedIn does not show many company page posts in your home feed. I mean, you got to be lucky to see one. And the only way you will be seeing them is if you engage on the page. If you start engaging that page, you might see one of their updates show up in your home feed. So for me, company pages are theoretically not a problem in my home feed.
Yeah. And as I explained several times, hashtags, I simply missed them. I mean, I really, they can be of added value if used wisely and correctly.
Mhm.
People still search by topic.
Yep.
And okay, these very strange hashtags of I want to be the best LinkedIn trainer or
Mhm.
things like that.
Yep.
Though they don't make sense, but some topics like for instance industrial automation or employee advocacy or
Yeah.
manufacturing in Germany. It should be
There
easy. It should be easy, but
Yeah, I think the hashtag story, I mean, as far as LinkedIn is concerned, they stepped away from it. You can, the hashtags are still used in the URLs of your post, but for the rest, I think LinkedIn, it's a pity that LinkedIn went away from that. However, with the new semantic search that we're all getting or already have, um, I guess to a certain degree, the keywords will be back, whether they're hashtags or whether they're just keywords in a post. I think that will help for finding search, but it will never be the hashtag search. I think that era, unfortunately, is over.
yeah, absolutely. And vice versa, Mick. Okay, curation of your feed, curation of topics, seeing more of the things you want to see. Um,
Yeah.
filling out your profile and make
Mhm.
it complete
Yeah.
could help as well, of course.
Yeah, has to these days definitely helps. But for me, the most efficient way to view my home feed is actually through the search function. Whether it's a search for content from specific people, or whether it's a search for posts from the people in my first degree, because that's obviously one of the big challenges that people have is like, okay, I see posts from people in my second degree and third degree, and that's not relevant for me. So what you can do, and I've set this up as a bookmark, is actually go and do searches on posts from my first degree network or the people that I follow, and then I will get a pseudo home feed that only lists posts from those people in the last day, last week, the last month, whatever. So for me, that is a very
But
efficient way.
compare this to, I mean, you've been active on LinkedIn for 22 plus years now.
Yep.
I've been there for 16 plus years. But the average user, they will never, ever do such a search. I'm talking about the majority of people
Agree.
here
Agree.
active on LinkedIn.
I fully agree. It's
So
but
is it up to LinkedIn to explain or to communicate more transparently about the possibilities of their platform? I mean, we
they
as
will not.
LinkedIn trainers do, of course, but
They will not. And
yeah,
and there's a
and
good
we've
reason why.
and we've talked about this several times, Mick. I mean, what's in it for them and what's in it for us?
Yeah. Okay. True. And they won't do it because if I do a search on posts that come out of my first degree network, the result screen will not deliver anything that says sponsored. So LinkedIn loses out because I have no ads, I have no suggested posts. It's basically my first degree. Sorry. So LinkedIn loses, or well, they don't show posts if you view your feed using that.
Hmm.
So LinkedIn isn't going to tell everybody and educate them to the point that they would be using that feature all the time. They'd rather have you stick to the home feed, which is the relevant or the most recent one, because that's the one where ads appear. And that's a big part of their income these days.
Sure, sure. But you would like to see, apart from the sponsored and advertisements, also a relevant organic feed, because you can't live from just um, advertisements that aren't of interest.
True, true.
So it's also a matter of making these feeds or keeping these feeds of interest, and people will start to leave or will do different things,
Yeah.
being less active on LinkedIn, spending less time on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and just broadcast, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I fully agree. But like I said, for me, the most efficient way is to use the search function on posts or on people, because you can also do it on, the content creators that you like or whatever it's called. And then you only get the posts that these people have written in the last, week, whatever period you decide to do that in. So I think if you're looking for efficiency, and that's, yeah, it's only something LinkedIn trainers and consultants will teach their clients. LinkedIn will not focus on that. They'll say, well, you have the option, but they won't give you the advantages, disadvantages.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a bit of a pity. Now, on the other hand, if you take this one step further and you look at Sales Navigator, Sales Navigator does exactly that. Because what you do in Sales Navigator, you save people, which means you follow them. I mean, that's a bit of a. And the home feed that you get in your Sales Navigator, which is different than the home feed that you get in the free version of LinkedIn, is a curated home feed with no ads, with no suggested posts, with, I mean, basically,
Oh,
It's the same thing.
you already pay for a subscription, Mick, so it would be strange on top of that subscription that you need to pay extra to delete all the advertisements. So Sales Navigator in various forms is indeed already a paid curated
Oh
feed.
yeah, But there, LinkedIn has to win because we pay to use Sales Navigator, while you can do exactly the same thing basically if you do it in the free version with search for posts or search for people.
Yeah, and still in Sales Navigator, I see so many consultants still not fully benefiting of all the possibilities, and having it's the same for me. It has been the same for me for some times. That has subscription but didn't use it to the max.
Hmm. Okay. I'm looking at a question from Phil, trying to figure out what the real question is. That is interesting point about LinkedIn losing when users use search feature because they don't get any ads. But this would be easy for them to fix, right? Yeah, but it would be easy to fix. The only thing is they won't because I mean, if they put in ads there, then definitely people will get even more upset and then run away. So, and he also adds that you can search on content posts on Sales
What's he
Navigator.
writing? What's he writing, Phil? Interesting point about LinkedIn losing when users use the search feature because they don't get ads. But this would be easy for them to fix, right? I agree the search function is relatively unused by regular user. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I have a
Yep.
video going on. Okay, yeah. No,
So,
not true.
but
Uh,
at the end of the day, I think um, going to Sales Navigator is a bit of the solution, but LinkedIn wins because they make money. If you do it in the search for posts in the free version, I think LinkedIn loses
yeah,
because no ads, no. So I guess LinkedIn isn't going to fix that. I mean, if they would do that, I think we'd probably find a way to get rid of those ads. Don't you
yeah.
think?
I think bottom line, Mick, there's it's not transparent enough. All the subscriptions you could have nowadays, the differences now with this paid meetings. Is it going to be for all subscriptions or for a limited amount of subscriptions? So I guess we have to go back to the drawing table and seeing what is really to have a real difference between all of those subscriptions.
Well, the thing is, they LinkedIn offers multiple subscriptions and features in each of these subscriptions that are unique, and the world isn't always made up of those unique feature of people that only need like one subscription. I mean, you've got recruiters that also need to do lead generation, so they kind of need a Sales Navigator next to, but they can't. So it's LinkedIn on the one hand is trying to satisfy what users want in terms of subscriptions.
Yeah, but
On the
the challenge, Mick, is that there isn't a single standard LinkedIn user.
exactly
I
that's
mean,
my point.
hotels have
Yep.
rooms a certain size. Their
Yep.
beds are a certain size for
Yep.
standard people. If you're
Right.
very tall, you don't fit in that bed.
Yep.
So, okay, the majority perhaps does, and like any company, you always aim for the majority and
Mhm.
standard users. But in subscriptions wise, there isn't a real standard, I guess.
No, there isn't, and I think by putting certain features, in one place or another, it becomes a challenge for people to which subscription should I get, and switching from one to the other isn't. I won't say isn't very simple. It isn't, and you lose your data that you built up and stuff like that. So it's kind of like maybe LinkedIn needs to look at how they offer their specific solutions. Maybe they need to look at features that
or
you
make
know.
perhaps pay per module.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's like you have a basic subscriptions with certain,
Mm-hmm,
well, things you can do with that, and
mm-hmm,
add modules. For
yeah,
instance, if I would like to have paid meetings,
mm-hmm,
I could pay for that part. If I
yeah.
would like to have, what's it called again? In what you don't have in Sales Navigator Core, but you do have in
Smart links,
Teams,
smart links.
Smart Links, for instance.
Mm-hmm,
Uh, I think a lot of people would like to pay or
mm-hmm.
like to pay would pay for Smart Links.
That's why I get an advanced version.
Yeah, I know, but you have to have the complete package, and people don't want to have the complete package, but only the Smart Links.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, agreed, agreed.
So there's still a challenge of well, all of those subscriptions.
Now, funnily enough, LinkedIn is laid off a bunch of people this year.
Hmm.
About 1,000. It's 900 and some odd. So about 1,000 people, which is 5% of the LinkedIn labor force. And it seems like a lot of the people are laid off in the engineering department, which is kind of interesting.
What does it tell you, Mick?
Well, two things. One, AI is taking more and more of the development.
Yeah.
And two is that they're obviously looking for people with new ideas, because it's not because they laid off 5% of the of their workforce, which is 1,000 people roughly. They're hiring other people to come into the engineering department with new ideas and probably more AI focused. So it's kind of an interesting thing happening. It's an annual thing, by the way. Every year after Microsoft announces their layoffs, LinkedIn comes a few days later with their round of layoffs. And it's not that LinkedIn isn't growing. I mean, their revenue is year over year has grown by more than 10%.
No, but it's a shift, and it's a natural shift, Mick.
Yeah.
If well, it has been like that in all ages, all
Mhm.
companies.
Yep.
You have to focus on what's bringing money to the table.
Yeah.
And if AI is taking over in some parts or doing it faster, well, then you have to change your course.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a natural state is that more and more companies are looking for people that can develop or can take the advantage of AI in terms of the development of new products. So in a certain sense, okay, it's a pity for those people who have been laid off, and I've seen a lot of laid off posts this week. People who were called into a meeting and basically been told that their job is gone. And a lot of people have posted about that. What I also saw is that on a lot of those posts, Dan Shapiro actually pitched in the comments.
Hmm.
I mean, even if it was like you've done a great job or something, it was more than two words. But it it's a sign of the times, though, is that if you got the new CEO going onto posts of people there that are announcing that they've been laid off, and as a CEO, you respond to that with some supporting message. I think that sends a strong that sends a strong message of culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, true, true.
And
So
I've seen a bunch of those by Dan Shapiro this way.
yeah.
By
So going towards the end of this episode, Mick, summarizing, curating your feeds. Well,
well,
press the three dots and the X more
yep,
often.
yep,
I think that goes along. Well, goes away.
yep.
Helps a lot.
Unfollow people.
Unfollow people, indeed.
And then I would go for the use the search function on either people or posts content, so that you only see the content that is about a certain topic from a certain number of people, etc. And if everything else fails, go to Sales Navigator.
Yeah. Wise remark, Mick. Yeah.
Well, I mean, a sales navigator has the advantage that you're not stuck on the first degree. You can follow people in your second and third degree in Sales Navigator without being connected for at least what they post on LinkedIn. So, to us, that in itself is the differentiator for Sales Navigator.
No, people. I mean, there's a lot of advantages in Sales Navigator,
Agreed.
but it's the same with premium. I mean,
Yeah,
Sales Navigator really has value.
yeah.
Company premium, on the contrary, has not so much value to me. So we have to check really hard to find value in all these subscriptions.
But if we are already thinking about, we have to really figure out what the real value is and where it can be put. Most companies, or a lot of companies, are really searching for, or are having even more difficulty deciding which one they want.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I know a lot of companies that don't work with Sales Navigator, but could.
Mhm.
But then again, a lot of companies are still, well, the companies I work for in
Mhm.
industry, in manufacturing, are
Right.
still very, very traditional.
Yep.
And they say, well, marketing department is responsible for marketing, and
Mhm.
do your job, and we'll
Right.
do ours.
Right.
So there's a lot to win, Mick.
Yeah, there definitely is. And I mean, we can go on about this topic, but at least we've got a bunch of items that we can do. To summarize, you can look at your feed, which is relevant, sorted by LinkedIn. You can look at your feed on most recent. You can do the search on content and people, and you can go to Sales Navigator. Those are a bunch of options you have, and it's worthwhile taking a close look at them.
Yeah. Okay, Mick. It was a pleasure talking to you again.
Yeah, same here. And
Next week in Dutch.
next week we'll go back to Dutch. Thank you, Phil and Roy, for joining into the chats. I'm looking forward to your post, Phil, later today. And for anybody else, we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time when we will have another English version. And that might be the one before our vacation, I think, because we're going both on vacation in June. Um, and if you want to join us next week in Dutch, be our guest.
Okay.